Congressman, thanks for joining us. I want to start with the issue of gun reform because Tennessee's Republican Governor Bill Lee, as you heard there, is calling on the Republican-led state legislature to take action in the wake of that horrific Nashville school shooting, the Christian School Covenant. Take a listen to some of what Governor Lee had to say.
It is important that we find a way to remove individuals who are a threat to themselves or to our society, to remove them from access to weapons. I'm asking the legislature to bring forth thoughtful, practical measures to do that, to strengthen our laws to separate those dangerous people from firearms.
Congressman, what might be a practical measure to separate people from guns that shouldn't have guns, shouldn't have access to guns because they're in some sort of distress, that you might support?
Well, Jake, it's good to be with you. This has been a question that's been coming up in various state legislatures. When I was in the Florida legislature, similar question came up. The default position became red flag laws, risk protection orders, or whatever you want to call them. The issue with red flag laws is that the U.S. citizen who somebody thinks might have mental health issues, their property is taken from them, and then they have to go to court to get their property back if it's found out that the mental health claims are actually invalid. So in short, you're actually violating the constitutional rights of an American citizen, and then they have to prove to the court that their rights should be reinstated. That's the issue with red flag laws as they exist today. If you're going to talk about a different situation where you're saying if somebody in the family set or in the community set is talking about the mental health issues that exist, and then there is a procedure that goes through to attest to that, to figure that out, you go through a legal procedure around that, and then something's talked about firearms, that might be palatable. But the way red flag laws operate today violate the rights of American citizens. And at the end of the day, we are a nation of laws. We are a nation by the U.S. Constitution. Constitutional rights have to be protected at all times.
So as you noted, you voted when you were in the Florida legislature against red flag laws or risk protection orders. That was in the wake of the Parkland school shooting. That was passed by the Republican-led legislature and signed by Republican Governor then Rick Scott. CNN's Leila Santiago, our reporter in Miami, she interviewed the Polk County Sheriff last year, a conservative Second Amendment guy. I want you to listen to what the sheriff had to say.
Listen, I'm a strong Second Amendment guy. I'm a conservative. I believe risk protection orders work.
He said they work. Leila went into the courtroom and we saw individuals who had guns taken away from them on a temporary basis from the judge because they were in a time of distress. This conservative sheriff says that law saves lives.
Look, Grady Judge is a great sheriff in our state, but on the implication about protecting constitutional rights, that's where he and I disagree. Like I said, if there is a process upon which people have to go and adjudicate their mental health first before their property is taken away from them, that's one thing, but that's not what risk protection orders do. Risk protection orders take away your property, and then you have to go to court to get your property back. That is a fundamental taking under the United States Constitution. That's why I believe that the actual taking of property is unconstitutional, but that's something where even conservatives disagree. That's no disrespect to Grady Judge. That's my position, and that's my way of looking at the U.S. Constitution and the property of people who are citizens in our country who, until a tragedy occurs, they actually have not run afoul of the law. And so you have to adjudicate the mental health stuff first before you can go and take property. That's my point. That's my stance.
I understand your point, but what about the constitutional rights of those 3 9-year-olds at Covenant School in Nashville, or the 3 faculty and staff members, or the 5 individuals killed at the Louisville Bank? They have a constitutional right to life. And I understand your concern about the Second Amendment rights of an individual, but don't those rights matter less than the individual right to live and not be gunned down in their school?
Well, actually, Jake, and I think you're conflating. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is in the Declaration of Independence, not the United States Constitution. We all want to protect life at all times, but that doesn't mean you get to abridge rights of American citizens. You don't get to do that. If you want to go through the legal process and adjudicate mental health, I'm all for that. but you can't take somebody's property from them and then they have to petition the court to get their stuff back. That's the wrong way to go. That's always been my disagreement with red flag laws. It's my disagreement today. And look, for the children who lost their lives in that church, that is horrific. But what you're dealing with there is somebody who knowingly went about breaking the law. And so the law is designed to protect us all. If somebody, an assailant, chooses to break the law, that's what the criminal proceeding is for.
Right.
The Constitution is to protect the rights of all law-abiding citizens.
Right, but I guess my last point here, and I understand the difference between the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, but certainly the right to exist is untrammeled from being shot in one's place of work or one's place of education is fundamental as well. I guess my point is, what solution do you propose? This kid, this 23-year-old who shot up the bank, or the other person in their 20s who shot up the Covenant School, these were individuals that had not broken any law. They had not done anything to run afoul of the law, but they were people obviously in mental distress. I'm not sympathizing with them, but they were in mental distress. What can we do to keep guns out of their hands?
Well, look, and that's why I'm saying what I think the key thing is we have to try to find better ways of adjudicating and understanding the mental health capability of certain individuals who are falling through the cracks. That's paramount. That's step one. Then step two, if you can get that mental health evaluation understood, then you can start talking about whether they should possess firearms or not. That is step two. And I think all we're talking about is which step goes first. You're saying that because of the tragedy that has struck, we should just take their property from them first and then figure out the rest on the back end. And all I'm saying is let's figure out the actual mental health issues first and then go through the process of taking away guns if it is adjudicated that, yes, they are a danger to themselves and their community.
Right. I'm actually not advocating for one law or another. I was just quoting the Pasco County Sheriff, who you know better than I, who said that red flag law that you voted against works and saves lives. And I'm just somebody who's sick. I'm sorry, Polk County, not Pasco County. I'm just someone who's sick and tired of reporting about innocent people being gunned down by people with mental problems. And obviously not everybody who has a mental problem is a danger to themselves and others, but there needs to be something done. Don't you agree?
Well, Jake, I think you hit the nail on the head. Not everybody who is dealing with mental health issues is violent.
Well, most of
And
them
if
are
you-
not. Most of them are not, in
The
fact.
vast majority are not, Jake.
Right.
And if you're an American citizen who's dealing with mental health issues, we all sympathize and empathize, and we want to make sure you get the help that you need in order for your life to get back on track. But because that is occurring, that doesn't mean your property should be taken from you. And that's the crux of this issue. Like, I don't really think we're too far apart. All I'm saying is let's adjudicate the mental health issues. If that is clear and apparent, then we can talk about ways to restrict you from having guns. But don't take an American citizen's property from them and then they have to go to the court to petition for it back. That doesn't protect their constitutional right, even when the vast majority of people who do have mental health issues are not even contemplating violence whatsoever.